radical. Fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brook Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Yaron Brook Show on this Friday, August 15th. I hope everybody's having a fantastic week. Oops, what do I have here? All right, cleared that out. Hope everybody's having a fantastic week, and you're looking forward to a weekend. It is 10 p.m. here in Lisbon, Portugal, so it's late. I'm a little tired, but yeah, we you know the world doesn't stop because I'm tired. So today we're going to talk about the news, and we'll start with, I think, what's on everybody's minds and what we're going to be tracking throughout the show, because you know, Trump and Putin are meeting right now, and we'll keep track. I'll try to keep track on what is going on and what is new as the information comes out. At some point, they're supposed to have a press conference where they will both answer questions, but you know, we'll see. It probably will be after the show. It probably won't be during the show. Quite a welcome Donald Trump gave to Putin. I mean, the red carpet treatment, the planes flew in. Putin's plane flew in a little bit after Trump's. They rolled out the red carpet for him. He got a flyover for F-35s and a B-2. You know, which is a huge honor, I think, for visiting dignitaries, usually reserved for allies. You know, the handshake between Putin and Trump, I don't know if you guys watched it. I watched it. Very chummy, very warm, very friendly, touched each other, talked a little bit. You know, very, very, you know, these are good friends getting together. Not at all kind of what you'd expect. Of course, it's Trump, but what you'd expect from two enemies meeting. After all, Russia, in speech after speech after speech, has defined the United States as its enemy. Putin is a leader of an authoritarian regime that is invaded a neighboring country, not for the first time, that is slaughtering people on the battlefield, that has its own people slaughtered, who kills his opposition, who kills his media, is basically the dictator, maybe the dictator Trump always knew he wanted to be. But here's a brutal dictator. Here's a really, really bad man. History will judge him to be a really, really bad man. And he is invited on American soil to meet with the American president. His arrival is celebrated. He is given the full-on red carpet treatment. And Putin's already won. No matter what happens, Putin's just elevated his stature in the world dramatically. He is no longer pariah. He is the equal. He is the equal of Donald Trump. I mean, the flyover is a little funny because, on the one hand, it's a huge sign of respect to have the kind of flyover, and it's significant dignitaries and so on. On the other hand, it's a B-2 and 4 F-35s, and Russia has nothing in its arsenal, nothing comparable. It just. I mean, just that flyover illustrates the relative positions of power of the two countries, the United States versus Russia. You know, Russia is a nothing, a nobody in comparison. And this is what makes this so ridiculous and absurd that this is even happening. As I said the other day, America has nothing to gain from Russia. Russia has everything to gain from the United States. One does not negotiate and treat with respect evil dictators. One deals with them as appropriate to prevent nuclear war. One does not appease them. One does not honor them. One does not, pretend that they are friends and pretend that we share interests and pretend that we're all on one side, which is what this whole show in Alaska is trying to do. So, look, the very fact that the meeting's happening, on American soil, already has given Putin a win, in a sense that he is now up there with everybody else. If Trump does not want to side with Ukraine, then Trump should just move to the sidelines and none of his business and move on. But to treat a monster like Putin with respect is disgusting. Now, it's not surprising. It's not unusual. Remember, Trump did the same thing with the brutal dictator of North Korea. At the time, I thoroughly condemned it. It was one of the most, one of the most humiliating things that an American president has ever done. And for no upside, right? No benefit, nothing to be gained there. Again, the North Korean dictator has everything to gain from meeting Trump. Trump has nothing to gain from meeting the brutal dictator of North Korea. Same thing is here with Russia. You could argue at least Russia, is a power. At least Russia has nukes. But again, he could have met him in UAE. He could have met him in Geneva. He could have met him in anywhere. He could have met him. He didn't have to invite him to the United States and treat him with such honor. It is truly despicable. Just to give you a sense of kind of what the Russian delegation thinks of us, and how how dismissive they are of us, and how they are not embarrassed at all by what they stand for and what they represent and what they want and what they were going to insist on. Well, Foreign Minister Lavrov arrived earlier in the day to Anchorage, Alaska. He came in, Putin came in with a suit and tie and, dignified and everything. Lavrov came in with pretty casual clothes quite a bit before Putin, so he could change and then go into the meeting. Anyway, he came in with wearing a sweatshirt with a big type right in the front, USSR. I mean, it's not USSR, it's a CCCP, I think. But basically, USSR. He came in with a USSR sweatshirt, a Soviet Union sweatshirt. The pride and joy of Russia, the Soviet Union. I mean, disgusting, despicable. This is not only USSR communism, but USSR as an empire, USSR as completely controlling Ukraine, USSR as the enemy of the United States. He doesn't care. He knows exactly what he wants, unlike Trump, who has no clue what he wants. This guy knows exactly what he wants. And, they've won because they got the summit. And now the question is, what else can they get from Trump? What else can they squeeze out of this, this incompetent president who stands for nothing, this anti-American president who stands for nothing? I mean, by the very fact that there's a meeting, the United States has accepted Russia as part of the club of legitimate major nations, as compared to its pariah state just yesterday. And it's sidelining because it started a war. a brutal war with no justification. And he's getting an amazing photo op with Trump, treating him with respect. I mean, remember how Zelensky was treated when he came to the White House? Now, let's see what happens. Does Putin give Trump a ceasefire, which only if it serves Putin's interests, only if Putin thinks he can gain from a ceasefire? About a few days ago, I think we talked about this, Russia had made some significant inroad to Ukrainian territory on the Eastern Front in Donetsk. Units of the Russian military found a gap in the defenses and streamed through and got pretty far into Ukrainian territory. And a lot of this was deemed as a push to take on additional territory in order to get to this meeting in a position of strength. Well, over the last 2 days, those units that broke through have been decimated. The Ukrainians have cut them off in the main body of the Russian army. And Ukraine has basically taken back most of the land that they have taken and is in the process of taking back all of the land and killing or capturing all of the Russian troops that made it in. Russia is having an almost impossible time fighting for inches in Donetsk. A ceasefire might be something they need right now just to recoup. Remember, the other thing that Ukraine is doing is it has bombed almost every refinery in Russia over the last 10 days has been attacked. They're all in flames. Factories have been attacked. Oil facilities have been attacked. Ukraine has done a phenomenal job at trying to cripple Russia's economy. He said it might be completely in Putin's interest to have some kind of ceasefire. Of course, Ukraine has to agree to a ceasefire. And Ukraine's not even there. And Trump earlier today said that he was not negotiating for Ukraine, although the fact that Trump said that means absolutely nothing. He could very well get into the meeting and completely change his mind and make decisions for Ukraine, or pretend to make decisions for Ukraine. Trump is Trump. So before this meeting, earlier today, Trump called the other brutal dictator, or less brutal than Putin, but still a brutal dictator, in Europe, Belarus's president, Alexander Lukashenko. He wrote about this. He wrote that, I had a wonderful talk with a highly respected president of Belarus. I don't think anybody respects the president of Belarus. Maybe Putin, but nobody respects the president of Belarus. He is despised by his own people, and he is despised by the Europeans. He is not respected by anyone. One guy respected him. You remember the guy who ran the Russian private militia, who tried to cut a deal with Lukashenko, and of course got himself killed in the process, because nobody respects Lukashenko. The purpose of the call was to thank him, this is Trump, to thank him for the release of 16 prisoners. We are also discussing the release of 1,300 additional prisoners. Our conversation was a very good one. We discussed many topics, including President Putin's visit to Alaska. I look forward to meeting President Lukashenko in the future. Thank you for your attention on this matter. Yeah, I mean, Trump has never talked to a dictator he has not liked. Trump likes dictators. He admires them. People stand up when they walk into a room. I guess that's the respect, the highly respected that he means. So right now you've got USSR, fans, USSR, believers in the USSR walking around Alaska in the United States. No problem wearing those shirts. You have people who have basically being responsible for an invasion of a sovereign country and the killing, the torture, the rape, mutilation of Ukrainians, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. At least nobody in the Trump administration seems to care. One good sign about this meeting is originally it was talked about the fact that Putin and Trump would meet one-on-one during this meeting, that the meeting would be just the two of them. And I was very worried about that because, I think Putin is so much smarter, more strategic, and better at this than Trump is. Luckily, it turns out that it won't be one-on-one; it will be 3-on-3. Putin will have with him his Lavrov and his foreign policy advisor, and Trump will have with him Marco Rubio, who I think is a little better on Russia than anybody else in the Trump administration, and the idiot Witkoff, who seems to be confused about a lot of different things and seems to have failed in most of his negotiations, but they will all be there. The six of them will be discussing. Maybe at some point Trump and Putin will talk one-on-one, but at least he's got a little bit of backup there. It's not him being by himself being manipulated by Putin. Interestingly, when the election happened in 2024, very few Republicans. This is just looking at a poll about people's attitudes towards Ukraine and the U.S. supporting Ukraine. Only 30% of Republicans at the time supported sending U.S. military aid to Ukraine. And to a large extent, Trump won on this promise not to help Ukraine and not to support Ukraine. And he was going to solve this and bring about peace in one day. And only 30% of Republicans supported military aid to Ukraine. 51% of independents and 52% of Democrats. 77% of Democrats. Total was 52%. So both independents, it was only 51%, and Republicans, only 30%. Well, come July of 2025, when this poll was taken, so last month, the percentage of Republicans who want to support Ukraine militarily has jumped to 51%. Independents, 61%. So Americans now, broadly, 62% of Americans support sending U.S. military aid to Ukraine. So a lot has changed since the election to today in terms of Republicans' attitudes. Maybe it's because Trump changed his attitude, maybe because Trump didn't achieve the peace that he promised, maybe because Trump realized, and maybe some Republicans realized, that he was BSing them, and that ultimately, this was, as Trump keeps saying, this is a lot harder than I expected. Now, a big motivation for Trump in meeting with Putin and putting on this show, and I think a real risk for the world, that Trump will be willing to give up a lot in order to get a deal with Russia, in order to get something done, is Trump's almost desperate attempt to try to get a Nobel Peace Prize. It turns out that earlier this week, Trump cold called a Norwegian minister, a minister in the Norwegian government. In Norway, of course, is where the Nobel Prize are given, to ask about what his prospects were of getting the Nobel Peace Prize. He basically is lobbying actively to get the prize. This is hugely important for him to get this recognition, to be on a plaque together with Kissinger for the peace between North and South Vietnam, which lasted so long, Yasser Arafat for the Oslo Accords, and a bunch of other people. He wants to be on that plaque. It's really, really important for him. And I think he's willing to give up a lot, in order to get that Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, he is so dependent. It's so important to him how other people see him, how other people view him, how other people estimate him. That is such a big deal for him. According to this minister, that it was Trump and it was Secretary Bassett and some other people, and and a lot of it was about, am I going to get the Nobel Peace Prize? Am I going to get it? Oh God. Anyway, as I said, this meeting is, I think, a pretty bad. By the way, Hillary Clinton. I just saw a tweet come by that said that Hillary Clinton said that Trump would deserve the Nobel Peace Prize if he can get a deal done between Ukraine and Russia. So even Hillary Clinton is going to give him the prize. So it's a done deal, right? I mean, and now he's got Hillary Clinton in his corner. It's absolutely there. All right. Yeah. They sat down before the meeting and the press was there, and the press threw some questions at them, and Putin was visibly uncomfortable. It's like he's not used to getting questions from foreign press, from press that is not just his accolades, that is just as praising him. And he's visibly unhappy and basically and making faces and stuff. And ultimately they say, okay, no questions, and they walk up and they ask the press to leave, and they're left to their meeting. But it is going to be interesting to see if there is a real press conference afterwards, and whether Putin participates in it. All right. Let's see. So supposedly the meeting is still ongoing. They have not broken for lunch yet. So I guess the talking is intense. They're committed, and that is where we are. And I'll keep monitoring to see if we get. Let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, here it is. Hillary Clinton said she'd nominate Trump for Nobel Peace Prize if he ends Ukraine war without giving territory to Russia. Okay, so there's some caveats there. She would nominate him. All right, we will see. So they've already been going at it for an hour and a half. Let's see, what else did I want to cover with regard to this? I think that is it. Anne is now, wow. Anne is now justifying Arafat. There's quite a leap there. All right, we know where she stands. That's good. All right, let's put aside the Trump-Putin meeting for now. Oh, yeah, there was one other thing. I did want to say one other thing. Okay, so just to give you a sense of kind of the Russian approach to this versus Trump praising everybody and hailing everybody. The patriarch of the Russian Orthodox Church, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, delivered a speech today, just ahead of the Alaska summit. It basically, here he is, basically threatening World War III if this doesn't go well. He says nothing can influence the development of the human civilization as much as the state of U.S.-Russia relations. Really, Russia at best is a junior partner in the only other country that matters in the world in that sense, and that is China. So I don't think Russia matters that much. Okay, if they develop positively, then peace on the planet is ensured, and therefore the condition for progressive development of human civilization are also ensured. If there is no peace, if, God forbid, there's a threat of the nuclear conflict, which will entail the destruction of not only the participants in this conflict, but probably the entire human civilization, then we will come closer to nothing less than the most difficult and tragic end of the existence of the human race. So, World War III. You wonder where MAGA gets the World War III panic and hysteria? It's fed to them by Russian propaganda. He continues, because the violation of peace between our countries can lead to the global destruction of the entire human civilization, and this is not some kind of horror story, but a fact that stems from the possession by two states of the most powerful nuclear potential, which is truly capable of destroying the entire world. How many times are you going to say the same thing? He asked the congregation to pray, quote, that the result of these negotiations would truly bring hope to people and create the preconditions for an even more dynamic development of relations between our countries, and not only between our countries, but also between Russia and the Western world. So, veiled threats in the background. All right, let's see, where do I want to go from here? Well, I never started the super chat counter. There we go, that's much better. All right. Okay. Put that aside. I'll monitor it. If there are any developments, I'll fill you in as we go along. If you see any development in the news, put it up in the chat. I'll try to follow the chat as well, so just in case I miss something going on over there. All right. So we've talked a lot about Trump's economic fascism and the extent to which Trump is an economic fascist, more so than any president probably since FDR. We had the golden share in the U.S. Steel, Nippon Steel merger. We've had the U.S. take an equity interest in a rare earths company. And now, and we saw the President of the United States calling for the dismissal and the firing of CEOs in corporate America. And of course, when the President of the United States called for the firing of the CEO of Intel or the CEO of, Goldman Sachs the other day, it's not just an empty, just a statement that carries no weight. This carries the weight of a threat from the President of the United States. This carries with it the potential for force, for coercion. And it's just been horrible. I mean, in his first term, Trump very much acted like he wanted to be the CEO of the economy. I called him often central planner in chief, and I think he acted that way. He would call CEOs and tell them they couldn't move a plant here, they couldn't build that plant, they couldn't shut that down. And I think he's done that in spades this term. So he's definitely central planner in chief. That is his economic policy. He wants to run things. Well, as part of this economic fascism, which is controlling businesses while giving them the illusion that they still have private property, that they still control their own fate, but really the government controlling what they do and how they do it. We have this story coming out of the meeting that the CEO of Intel had earlier this week that we talked about with Trump, trying to appease Trump and trying to get himself not fired, I guess. Well, it turns out that out of that meeting, a proposition came forward. That is, a possibility was discussed, and a possibility is being discussed and pursued of the U.S. government taking an equity stake in Intel. The United States actually investing in Intel. making Intel what they call in Asia a national champion in the chip race. Now, Obama did this with the auto companies, with the auto bailout, with GM, but it was temporary, and it was a bailout, and it was temporary, and the government sold its stake pretty quickly. Here, one fears that it's not temporary. This is the new belief of the national conservatives, Christian conservatives, of this new central planner in chief. They want to control the economy. They want to control American big businesses. They want the government involved, not just the government regulating or the government picking winners or losers or the government even providing capital. They want the government actually to have a stake, to have an equity stake with everything that implies, including a say in how the business is run. Now, again, this is unprecedented in American history. It is a real danger to whatever economic freedom we have left in this country, and we don't have that much left. And the fact that it's being done by a Republican, imagine what a Democrat does with this kind of power. Imagine what a Democrat does once it's kosher and acceptable and everything's okay with the U.S. government literally investing in businesses, and in that sense, really deciding winners and losers. It's not just about subsidies, it's about ownership. Talk about socialism. Isn't socialism the ownership of the means of production? Do we have a socialist in the White House? Not really. We have a non-ideologist in the government, in the White House, but he is laying the groundwork for socialism, fascism, for much greater statism in our future than we've had in our past. The U.S. government taking a position in Intel, not just bailing Intel out, but literally taking an equity position as a form of bailing them out and sustaining that equity position, not as a one-time thing. Guess what happened to Intel stock, by the way? Up on announcement, 6.5%. That's a big move for a stock like Intel. Because, hey, who doesn't want the U.S. government to be a co-investor with you? You're not going to go bankrupt. The government can just print money and give it to you. Keep pumping money into you. Yeah, remember the export tax as well. That'll be interesting. Will the export tax apply to Intel? Well, it'll just be paying dividends to its new owner, the U.S. government. So, yeah, a story to watch. Good news for the Trump administration. And I think this is good news. I think this is right, and this will ultimately lead to positive things. An appeals court. So the Trump administration can't get rid of the CFPB. To literally get rid of the CFPB, they need to pass a law in Congress. They need to include it in a bill. And they don't have a big enough majority in the Senate to do that. The Democrats would probably fight it, and they need 60 votes to get rid of the CFPB, to shut it down completely. So what they've decided to do is basically, and they can't defund it. They can't eliminate the funding to it, because the CFPB was set up in a way. CFPB is the Consumer Financial Protection Board. It's an awful entity. It's a regulatory entity that is actively doing great damage to the financial industry in the United States. It goes after companies. It pretends that it's protecting us from fraud, but it's just imposing standards and regulations just horrific on finance companies. And financiers are having to pay gazillions of dollars in penalties to the government for things that are completely legal and completely legit. Anyway, so they can't stop the funding, because when it was set up that its funding comes directly from the Federal Reserve and is not approved by Congress and is not approved by the executive, which I think is unconstitutional, but the court refused to rule its unconstitutionality. So what they decided to do is they basically decided to use their executive power over the functioning of the CFPB to dismantle it from within without completely eliminating it. So basically fire a lot of the employees, and then the budget gets cut because you fired a bunch of the employees. And restructure it so it becomes, if you will, powerless. Indeed, there was a plan that was being implemented to lay off 80% of the CFPB's workforce and to terminate contracts with contractors. And then a court came in and stopped this. It blocked it. An appellate court heard the case, and in a decision of 2-1, two Trump appointees ruled that they are allowed to proceed in firing all these people and restructuring. The court wrote, if the plaintiff theory were viable, it would become the task of the judiciary rather than the executive branch to determine what resources an agency needs to perform its broad statutory functions. The government, the plaintiff, of course, is saying, no, they are, what the whole goal of this is to prevent it from doing its statutory functions, which of course it is, but the court doesn't want to intervene here. The dissenting judge wrote, the notion that courts are powerless to prevent the president from abolishing the agencies of the federal government that he was elected to lead cannot be reconciled with either the constitutional separation of powers or our nation's commitment to a government of laws. I am happy to see the CFPB, cut back dramatically. And if they don't follow all the laws and they're not diligent about pursuing Dodd-Frank, the law that created them, I'm fine with that. It will be interesting. I think that the appellate, the people suing, will try to get this heard in front of the entire district court, so I think 12 judges. Whether they appeal this to the Supreme Court, whether the Supreme Court takes the case, is going to be interesting. But it does look like, at least as of now, that the Trump administration will get its way and will start shrinking the CFPB significantly, which ultimately is a win for all of us if we can get a less competent regulators are good. Now, it would be ideal if we got a law passed to get rid of the CFPB, but that, again, is very unlikely because Democrats won't pass it. It is a crime that Republicans under Obama allowed Dodd-Frank to pass, and as part of Dodd-Frank, the creation of CFPB. So Republicans have only themselves to blame for the existence of this thing, but it's good to see it gone. None of its victims deserve to be victimized by it. All right, headline is Trump-Putin meeting ongoing after 2 hours. The two sides have now been behind closed doors for 2 hours. The wider lunch meeting has not yet started. Now remember, Trump said at some point that if the meeting was not going well, he'd leave quickly. He'd shut it down quickly. So this is a sign it's going well. I'm not sure what going well means. Is that going well for us, the good guys? Is that going well for Putin? Is that going well for Trump? Going well, what does going well actually mean? I do not know. All right. There's a question the other day about drill baby drill, and are we indeed drilling like crazy? Is Trump's promise a reality in terms of drilling for oil? Is oil production up? And U.S. producers drilling? Remember, that was a big part of his agenda. One of the things he promised, and I know some of you are very concerned about what Trump promised, what he was elected on, one of the things was drill baby drill. And I said that no, it wasn't happening because oil prices are low. And there's a story in the Financial Times today basically confirming that. U.S. shale producers, I'm reading for the article, are idling drilling rigs and holding back spending as they shelter from an OPEC-induced price slump that is likely to send American output sharply lower. The number of crews fracking shale oil and gas wells, a crucial barometer of industry activity levels, hit a 4-year low last week, and producers have wiped about $1.8 billion from capital spending plans over 2 quarters. This week, the Federal Energy Information Administration predicted U.S. oil output would fall next year as crude prices drop to $47.77 a barrel, almost $20 below shale drillers' break-even price. Shale executives told the Financial Times they were in a new price war with Saudi Arabia, Russia, and other OPEC members, and it would imperil President Trump's call for America to pump more crude. To quote an executive, what the administration doesn't quite understand is that we've gone from drill baby drill to wait baby wait. And by the way, this is the conflict within the administration. Trump on the one hand wants, has promised American consumers low energy prices, low gasoline prices, and has encouraged Saudi Arabia to pump oil, wants restrictions on Russian oil to be lifted, and is trying to do what he can to appease the Russians in order to get that. He wants more oil pumped into the world market, which will drive down price, which he'll get the low gasoline prices he promised. On the other hand, he also promised drill baby drill. But that's a conflicting goal. You can't have drill baby drill. The United States oil production, from fracking in particular, is much more expensive than Saudi oil production. So as I told you, I've said many times, oil needs to be at $75 a barrel in order to justify fracking. So this executive continues, we're not going to be putting any more rigs out until prices get back and stabilize in the $75 range. You will see the U.S. production start to drop in the fall and into 2026. The article continues, soaring shale output over the last 20 years made the U.S. the world's biggest oil and gas producer, but its high cost of production has left it vulnerable to crude price swings. Again, a quote from an executive, the best way for OPEC to gain market share is to keep oil prices in the 60s range for several years. This will reduce investment in the U.S. shale, Canada, Brazil, and I would add Argentina, and oil exploration around the world. It will force consolidation. So that's what they're doing. They're keeping it in the around 60s. Yep. So, no, there's no drill baby drill, but it's not because of environmental regulations or anything like that. It's because of oil prices. It's because the conflicting goals that Trump set for himself. I told you, no strategy. All right, drill redistricting. Yeah, quick story about redistricting. We've been following this. You remember, Texas is going to redistrict and create 5 new, at the expense of Democrats, 5 new Republican districts before the 2026 election. California is releasing a map of redistricting California to try to offset those 5 and gain 5 Democratic seats in California to offset the Texas seats. And, supposedly this is going to launch into a whole struggle, a whole battle between the states. More red states will switch and more Democratic states will switch. And, at the end of the day, it's hard to tell who's going to have the upper hand. Maybe Republicans, because they control more states. But in order to avoid a vote on the Texas bill that would do the redistricting, all the Republicans left. All the Democrats left the state so that there wouldn't be a quorum. And they've been gone for 2 weeks, and therefore there hasn't been a vote. Let's see. So the Democrats in the Texas House of Representatives said they would return, conditional on the Texas legislature ending its current special session and California releasing draft maps of its state aimed at nullifying potential gains for the GOP in Texas. Quote, we're prepared to bring this battle back to Texas under the right conditions and to take this fight to the courts. So stay tuned. It's hard to tell how this is going to play out. Everybody's waiting to see if Texas can get this through. If they can get it through, other states will act, which could cause other states to act, which could cause a huge mess as they all frantically try to do this redistricting before the 2026 congressional elections. We will see how all that plays out. All right, quickly on Infowars. Remember Infowars? They were sued. Alex Jones was sued for claiming that the student massacre at Sandy Hook Elementary School was a giant hoax, that nobody was killed during that. The families of the killed students sued. Alex Jones was ordered to pay $1.4 billion for defamation and emotional stress. And now a district judge on Wednesday ordered that all the assets belonging to Infowars be auctioned, be sold, and the proceeding go to 10 families, the victims. I don't know how much these assets are worth, probably well short of $1.4 billion. But hopefully this wipes Alex Jones out. Now, I get a sense that he's got significant financial backers, and that even if all this happens, he's going to continue spouting his evil, conspiracies and his lies and his disgusting theories out there. But I guess we will see. But it does look like he's finished. All right, what happened here? What did I do? I did something. Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry. One of my pages disappeared. Just looking in on the Trump-Putin thing to see if there's anything new. Nope, nothing new. Nothing new to report. I guess they're still going at it. All right. This is an interesting story about electric cars. So I'm just going to read you from this. It's a story in, in Yahoo Finance. Last year, Ford CEO, the CEO of Ford, commuted, in a car that wasn't made by his own company. In an effort to scope out the competition, Farley, the CEO, spent 6 months driving around in a Xiaomi SU7. This is a Chinese-made. This is a Chinese-made electric sedan, and it's an impressive car. It can accelerate faster than most Porsches. It has a giant touchscreen that lets you turn off the lights at your home, not just manage the car, and comes with an AI assistant. And it's also about $30,000 in China. Farley, the CEO of Ford, to remind you, said, it's fantastic. I don't want to give it up. Now, Farley has openly commented on what might happen to Ford if more Americans can get behind the wheels of a Xiaomi SU7. Ford was able to import a Xiaomi from Shanghai for testing purposes. But for now, all of us, regular Americans, cannot buy an SU7 or another one of the many affordable and highly advanced EVs made in China. That's because of stiff tariffs and restrictions on Chinese technology have kept them out. So tariffs and non-tariff import restrictions. But if that changed, I'd say the American auto industry is in danger of disappearing. Chinese EVs can be so cheap and high-tech that they risk outcompeting all other cars. Not just electric ones, but it will become attractive to buy an electric car given how cheap and advanced they are. In the rest of the world, traditional automakers are already struggling. In Europe, The Chinese are taking real market share away from traditional European car makers, and they have as much market share right now in Europe as Mercedes-Benz does. Farley says, we're in a global competition with China, and if we lose this, we do not have a future at Ford. And the reality is, he's right. I've been telling you this for a while. People make fun of Chinese cars. There's no reason to make fun of them. They are superior automobiles. They're as good as Teslas, if not better than Tesla, and much cheaper. So on a price performance basis, they're significantly better cars than Tesla. BYD, Xiaomi, and many others. There are a number of Chinese electric car manufacturers that are doing phenomenally well. If you're in the auto industry, you've got to be worried about this. You've got to be thinking about this. And American auto companies need to catch up. And part of it is they need to develop their own batteries. They can't be dependent on China for batteries. And they need to improve. They need to leapfrog the Chinese in terms of battery technology. They need to leapfrog the Chinese in terms of software. It's the one thing Tesla is still better than the Chinese at is software, but the Chinese are catching up. And of course, right now, they're shielded from this competition and have been for years, and maybe that's why they're so behind, is that they haven't needed to face the competition because the US government has shielded them from it. And it could very well be that the shielding is costing these auto companies years of not having to compete, not having to be in the best, presenting their best game, not having to be in top form, and ultimately that is what will kill them. So often the effort to protect an industry is what ultimately kills the industry. All right, what is going on here? All right, cool. I say lower the tariffs, eliminate them, let those Chinese cars in, let American automobile companies compete, and let American consumers benefit from these cheaper and more advanced cars. I mean, the reality is that it could be that American car companies should basically make pickup trucks. That's what they're good at, pickup trucks. But very little else. Almost on every other front, you can get a superior product from a Japanese company, a European company, or now a Chinese company. So, and now with elimination of penalties on the fuel standards, there's no reason American auto companies can't just make pickup trucks and SUVs, which is what I guess they're good at. That's it. All right, finally, today marks 4 years since the fall of Kabul to the Taliban. I mean, I don't know how many of you remember the photos of the last US Air Force C-17 lifting off from Kabul's international airport. You had all these Afghans desperate to get out of there, trying to hang on to the wheels and hang on to the wings and just hang on to anything sticking out. Most of them, of course, couldn't do it. But indeed, some of them landed up going up with the plane and ultimately having to let go and falling to their death. Some of them actually snuck into, managed to climb into the wheels, the thing above the wheels, and they got crushed to death when the landing gear was pulled up. I mean, a real tragic end to an unbelievably tragic war. A war that was not necessary, a war that was handled poorly from the beginning, from the very first. A war that, just like Vietnam, where the generals and our generals and our politicians lied to us constantly and consistently A war that saw a couple of thousands of Americans die and thousands injured for no reason, with no achievement to show for it. Zero, zilch, nada. The Taliban today rule Afghanistan with as much brutal force as they ever did. And they are today a training ground and a launching ground for international terrorists, just like they were back then. A war that achieved nothing, cost American lives much, billions and billions in American treasure. And again, we were lied to. We were lied to from day one. American generals knew the war was going nowhere, that the attempt to nation build was futile, that American troops were being sacrificed for nothing, and yet they continued to lie to us. They continued to tell us that just another surge and just another mission and just another investment and just something else, and we could turn this around and we could win this and we could bring in a proper government to replace the Taliban. It was all fiction, and in private conversations, they all admitted it. There was an amazing story 4 years ago, in the Washington Post. It was a series of articles based on interviews with generals and leading people within the Defense Department and in politics that laid out the lies, the deceptions, laid out the tragedy that was Afghanistan and the pathetic way in which this country fought that war. And my sense of that article is that nobody read it. Nobody seems to care. I don't know what it is about it, but there's a sense in which we care more about the war in Ukraine than we cared about our own wars. I mean, do you know there's still American troops in Syria and Iraq doing what? Fighting the elements of ISIS. How? For what purpose? What's the strategy? What's the exit strategy? Can they defeat them? Is it winnable? Nobody asks these questions. Nobody seems to care. How about bringing those troops home? So just horrific war where Americans just don't care. We send our soldiers off. Many of them come back in body bags. We don't care. The Washington Post actually published the series of articles in a book form on Amazon, self-published it in a way. And nobody read it. I've seen nobody really talk about it much. All the anti-war people, and we never won this war. We never fought it properly. We let Al-Qaeda escape. We let bin Laden escape early on in the Afghan war. We let the heads of the Taliban escape. It took us years to hunt them down and kill them. We never knew what we wanted there. We created a corrupt government. Why did we concern ourselves with bringing democracy to Afghanistan? Who did we think we are? Almost everybody on the ground knew that this would fail, knew there was no purpose of it. We should have gone in thoroughly, systematically, ruthlessly. I know I'm going to lose some subscribers now. Ruthlessly destroyed the Taliban and everybody and everything associated with it. Destroyed Al-Qaeda, killed whoever we needed to kill within Al-Qaeda without concern for collateral damage, and gotten out of there. That's what I argued at the time. The humiliating retreat from Kabul, the 13 Marines who died, as we're evacuating, died again for what? For nothing. All the Afghan people that we betrayed, and this administration right now is betraying in spades. All the people who helped us, all the people who supported us while we were there, and we are now sending back to Afghanistan not giving them visas, not helping them get out of the country, didn't help them get out of the country then. It was absolutely unmitigated. The whole thing is an unmitigated disaster. And the retreat was a disaster. And the retreat, people forget, a retreat that is blamed on Biden, and it should be blamed on Biden. Biden did a horrible job. It was the beginning of the end of the Biden administration. And he should carry the blame for that. But there was somebody else involved in that retreat. Oh, the guy meeting with Putin right now. The president of the United States that invited the Taliban to America to negotiate a peace deal. Luckily, the adults in the room convinced him not to do that. But he wanted to bring them to the Camp David, the Taliban. These monsters. And remember, it was Trump who signed a peace deal with the Taliban. Without participation of the Afghan government was not a party to the deal, was not a party to the negotiations. And of course, the Taliban have ignored that peace deal completely. And basically, it set us up for retreat from Afghanistan, which Biden did so pathetically. But the whole idea of negotiating with the Taliban, of signing a deal with the Taliban, if anybody had said, in late 2001, post-September 11th, that is how the Afghan thing is going to end, with the President of the United States signing a peace deal with the Taliban and bringing them back to power after they hadn't been to power for 20 years, nobody would have believed him. And yet that's exactly what Donald Trump did. Donald Trump's foreign policy is an unmitigated disaster because he has no principles. He stands for nothing. He adores dictators, thugs, strongmen. Anyway, let's see. Anything new? I guess nothing new. I guess they're still talking. They haven't broken for lunch. It's now more than 2 hours. Whoa. I think they're going to have a deal. I think we're going to have peace in our time. I think they're going to come out of this with peace in our time. Yeah, this is a massive victory for Putin. The longer this goes, the more Putin is winning. That's my interpretation. But we'll see. We'll find out. You'll be able to say, no, Yaron, you were wrong on Monday, or if we do a show tomorrow. All right, that, my friends, is the news for August 15th, Friday, August 15th. We're now going to shift to our super chat. We are very close to our first hour goal, but we've already crossed the first hour, so it's still behind. You guys are keeping me behind. You're making me work for the dollars. I'll give you that. Yeah. Somebody said that during the press conference, Putin was pretending not to understand English and getting upset at the questions because he couldn't understand the English. What he was really upset was by the question itself. Putin has really good English. He knows English. But he's a good KGB operator. Remember, he's from the KGB. He's got a history. And all right. Let's see. Let us shift to the super chats. God. Let me close this. Let me close that. Let me move this over here. Let me move this stuff over here. Let me shut that down. Remind you, we have 3 sponsors. HendershotWealth.com has products that can really mitigate your capital gains, particularly if you've got stock that's appreciated a lot, or you've got a company that you plan to sell sometime in the future. They can help you prepare for that day and mitigate or postponed for a very long time the actual payment of taxes on the capital gains. So talk to them. Hendershot with 2 T's, wealth, all one word, .com/YBS, or go to my YouTube channel and check out the video where I interview Robert. Alex Epstein is a world expert on all things related to energy. You will learn a huge amount from him. It'll make you a better communicator about the issues around energy, but also you will just learn a lot of facts. Check him out, alexepstein.substack.com. Finally, the Ayn Rand Institute is announcing a new way to study Ayn Rand's ideas. This is something called ARI Live Courses, where you get the rigor of ARI's top-notch educational programs at a commitment level that works for you. Courses are open to all, no application required, so this is a real change. There's no long-term commitment. Take the courses that interest you. Don't take the ones you don't want to. You can take them whenever you want. You can join live, or you can listen to recordings afterwards. Homework is optional, so you're in control. The courses run 8 to 10 weeks and include access to personal success coach to help you set goals, stay motivated, and make the most of what you're learning. Upcoming courses in October, starting on October, Objectivism through Ayn Rand's fiction, the philosophy of Objectivism, I assume that's kind of going over OPA, and Objectivism, work and business. Whether you're on an intellectual journey, or just curious, or just want to take your Objectivism to the next level, check all these out. Now, there's a price you have to pay. They're not free, but you can get a discount, a YBS discount. To get the discount code is 25YBS10. 25YBS10. You do it at checkout. The courses start October 1st, so don't wait. You can gain access to all of that through aynrand.org/start-here. aynrand.org/start-here. I know that I will probably be teaching some of the courses next year, so not in October, but maybe in January or maybe later in April. Yeah, check it out. I think you'll really enjoy these courses. And again, no commitment, no application. Anybody can take it. Everybody can participate. Open to all of you. It's just a matter of paying. If you're a student, I think you can get scholarships. All right, let me just thank some stickers. RDF, thank you for the sticker. Mary Aline, thank you for the sticker. And Barbara, and thank you. And who else? We've got Jeremy, and Robert. All right, thank you guys. Really appreciate the support. Thank you. And you can support the show with a super chat, with a sticker. Go on patreon.com and put your Yaron Brook show and become a monthly supporter. All of that is great. Become a subscriber, like the show, do the things you do on YouTube. And all of those things elevate us in the algorithm and make it better. I will say, I'm missing some of my whales. Some of the people who can write $50, $100, $250, $500 kind of stickers or super chats. Please consider doing that if you have the ability, the financial ability to do that. We need to stop making our goals again. We've been missing our goals lately. And I think because of the different time zones and different times I'm doing this, some of the people who usually come in with those kind of, support levels are not on live. So if you are on live, please consider doing a sticker or doing a question and supporting the show. But you can also do 99 cents like Michael just did. And it's great because if we have enough 99 cents, if we had everybody doing 99 cents, we'd make our goals. It wouldn't be a problem. So please consider supporting it one way or the other as a trade, value for value. All right, let's jump in with a $50 question from That Doodle Bunny. Thank you, That Doodle Bunny. Part 1, In your segment on super babies from last show, you seem to poo-poo the prevailing idea in Silicon Valley that the reason these young tech entrepreneurs became extraordinarily wealthy so quickly was due to being born with a super high IQ. That's right, I do poo-poo that. Where's the continuation of the question? There it is. But clearly that is the case. Being born with that much horsepower is the only ticket to being able to produce that level of wealth. Values and choices can't replace hardware and horsepower. I just don't believe that. I don't believe that your hardware is fixed. I don't believe that that it requires a superior IQ to make a lot of money. Indeed, the correlation between IQ and money is not very high. IQ is not a predictor of wealth, of income and wealth. Many businessmen are not extraordinary when it comes to IQ. And many people who have very high IQ produce nothing, are lazy bums playing video games or wasting their talent on some pursuit that is not very valuable. I just don't see the correlation. I know a lot of people in Silicon Valley who've made good money, maybe not the gazillionaires. I don't think they have extraordinary IQ. I don't think they were born with extraordinary hardware. Most of them were, I know a lot of them who were pretty mediocre students or less. Now, I haven't run IQ tests on everybody, so I don't know. I know lots of people with very high IQ who do nothing, who've achieved nothing. So, sorry, I think that what leads you to achieve great success in life is your character. It's the choices you make, the values you pursue, and the way you pursue those values. I think that being rational adds, I don't know how many IQ points, but a lot of IQ points to your IQ. I know very smart people who are irrational. And the point is that many of the people in Silicon Valley who maybe did succeed because of their IQ, in addition to everything else, don't particularly enjoy it. They're not particularly happy. They're not particularly happy. So what's the value of it? Why produce all those values if you're not going to be happy? If you can't take pride in it? If you don't take, if you don't take meaning from it? So many rich people in Silicon Valley are unhappy, don't know what to do, are lost. So there's a lot more. There's a lot more than IQ. And to just pursue single-mindedly a spouse that'll have IQ so you can have high IQ babies, you got to fall in love. You got to fall in love with a person's values, not the horsepower. You don't fall in love with horsepower. Maybe in a car, but even then, it's not enough. So I poo-pooed the idea that it was IQ that led to their success, yes. And more than that, I poo-pooed the single-minded focus on IQ as a path to dating, as a path to having kids, as a screen for which kids to have. I think it's a wrong focus. I think focus on character, focus on independence, focus on reason and rationality will lead to much better results as a human being, not just much better results in business. All right, 1 minute ago, the members of the White House press pool that traveled with the president have been told to gather in the room set up for the Trump-Putin press conference. So there is going to be a press conference. And that means that they've got something to talk about, to say. They've got some result that's come from this. We will see what was given and what was taken. They'll probably announce some kind of ceasefire, the question under what terms. Or what Trump really wanted was a meeting in which Zelensky also participated, Maybe they'll announce that. We will see. So I will keep monitoring this, but there is a press conference about to start. All right, let's see. Wes, thank you, Wes. Another $50 question. Any good sources for the economic history and politics of Hong Kong? Oh, God. No, I really don't have. I mean, one good source that I remember reading and really enjoying, and I think there's a chapter on Hong Kong in it, but it's generally a good book, although it's now dated, is Commanding Heights, which was a book written maybe 15 years ago, so at a different period, and certainly before the Chinese takeover of Hong Kong. And I think it had a chapter on Hong Kong, and it's a really good book. So if you want to read about Asia and read about the post-80s liberalization really on a global scale, Commanding Heights is excellent. It's the same guy who wrote the book on oil. I forget his name. I can't pronounce his name. So sorry, I don't. But try Commanding Heights. I think you'll enjoy it broadly. And there's definitely the chapter on Hong Kong is very good. Non-Savage Algorithm. Have you seen Alex O'Connor's debate with Craig Biddle on free will? What a disaster. Can any objectivist who actually know what they're talking about from ARI reach out to Alex for a proper debate discussion? I haven't seen it. Am I surprised it's a disaster? No, I don't particularly have a lot of respect for Craig Biddle's abilities. Free will is a tricky issue. It's a tricky issue to debate, but you need somebody like Ankar or Greg, or I think Ben could do it to do the debate, or Jason Rines. Any one of those would be really good at the debate like that. I'll talk to the people at the Institute and see if they will reach out to Alex O'Connor. I mean, it's a debate worth having. I don't know that Alex O'Connor will do another debate, because isn't this his second debate with Craig Biddle? Or is this the original one that he did a year ago or 2 years ago? But I think they've talked before. So at some point he's going to say, if this is the level of objectivists, I don't want to debate them. We will see. But yeah, I think the number of people would do a better job than Craig. Harper Campbell, if less than 100 years after World War II and 60 years after the publication of Atlas Shrugged, the United States collapsed into dictatorship, how incompetent would the advocates of a free society have to be? I don't know. You know, it's not clear that that you could get more competent advocates of a free society, and that they would do a better job. You know, the dynamics of cultural change are super complex. Maybe that you know, the collapse of the United States, in a sense, the ideas that ultimately lead to the collapse of the United States were set in motion well before World War II, and it was almost impossible to reverse them, and you would have to wait for them to play out before it changed again. But yeah, if you want to just argue that the defenders of capitalism, and I assume here you're talking about Ayn Rand, the Objectivist movement, I don't know who else you want to include in there, other free market people have failed dramatically. All right, I'm not sure what the purpose of that is. Jennifer, there are anti-littering signs in Alaska showing a moose with a tire around his neck saying, "Don't trash Alaska." Putin and Trump are trash in Alaska. I'd like to see them both wrapped around a moose's neck. Thank you for making me laugh, Jennifer. That's great. Noah Smith. Hi, Yaron. Big fan. Please give my YouTube channel a shout out. I make electronic music. Name is Mr. Tripster. Tripzter with a Z. Tripster. Mostly mashups, but some originals as well. Objectivists, assemble. Search Mr. Tripster with a Z. See, Noah Noah knows how to do marketing and he knows how to exploit. $20. He just got his YouTube thing in front of 5,000 people who are going to listen to this, and it cost him $20. That's a pretty good deal, I'd say. If you like electronic music, go for it. Go check out Mr. Tripster. Thank you, Noah. I appreciate the support. Andrew, the public is frustrated that the ulterior motives of the murderer of 4 college kids in Idaho may never be revealed. Philosophically, the essential reason and that he's evil. He's evil because he chose evil actions. Yes. I mean, from everything I know, I don't know what the ulterior motives are, and there might not be any other than he hates. He's a hater. He's an evil bastard who hated and expressed that through the worst form of violence. Yes, Hopper Campbell, and seconds your view that I am incompetent. That's how she interpreted what you said. She means me, and she seconded it immediately. So you can blame me for the collapse of Western civilization. I have broad shoulders. I can take it. And Noah Smith says he's not the economist, Noah Smith. I figured that. I don't think Noah Smith, the economist, is a fan of my show. All right. Faku Kastan, Taiwan. Hey, Ron, just tuned into the show because it's 6 a.m. here. Thanks for always being a voice of reason. Keep it up. I guess some people don't blame me for the collapse of Western civilization. Question, what do you think of the trend of using holograms of dead celebrities in concerts? I love it. I mean, I haven't actually seen one, but my wife went to see a concert of Maria Callas in hologram, and she said it was stunning that it looked so real with the lighting and everything in the hologram, and she's on stage, and of course it's Maria Callas singing because they're using her tape. But Maria Callas was also a great actress, voice plus acting, and she loved it. She had a blast. Why not? Why not be able to bring people back in their own voice, where you have the audio but you don't have the video, and you can through AI take their images and turn it into a three-dimensional thing. I think it's fantastic. So I don't see the downside. I think it's amazing. And as I said, I mean, I'm sorry I missed that concert. I would have loved to see Maria Callas on stage, and my wife got to see it. I was traveling at the time, but I hope I get a chance one day to see that concert. Robert says, as an IQ 2%er, at least according to Mensa, I can confirm that what you do with your smart is about a zillion times more important than one's mental horsepower. I know all too many smart people whose poor choices led to mediocrity. Yeah, I mean, there's no question. No question. And I have no idea what my IQ is. I've never had it tested. I don't care. I really have no clue if I'm a 2%er, 10%er, 20%. I don't know. I'm obviously smart. How smart? I just don't know. And it's never interested me. I've never been tempted to go and do an IQ test. So I just don't know. By the way, in terms of intellectual property rights, I'm sure that the people doing this, again, they don't want to be sued. They're getting permission. If you need permission, I don't know. When does your image go into the public domain? Maria Callas has been dead for quite a while, so I don't know how that works. I don't know how that works. I see that Linda likes my kind of music. Yeah, Linda, give us Callas any day. Maria Callas any day. That is my kind of music. I told you I want to see here in Lisbon. My wife and I went to see La Traviata outdoors. It was beautiful. It was really, really nice. Let's see. All right, Michael. Why do the Chinese want a regulatory state while rejecting the welfare state? Do they think welfare makes their population soft? Well, partially because they don't care, right, and how their people live. And they want a regulatory state because they want to control. They want power. Regulations give them power. They want the country to be rich, so they don't want to waste the money on redistribution. They want to use the money to grow the economy. And of course, they're also central planners, so they think they can use the money to grow the economy fast, so that they can they can govern over a big political entity rather than a small one. Michael, I think it would be a matter of pure luck if Trump doesn't cause an economic or political disaster before he leaves office. I agree. Sickening to see him meet with the dictator of Russia. What can I do to assuage these feelings? Well, just focus on positive things in your life. Just focus on good values. Don't worry too much about it. We don't have any control about it. We can talk about it. We can complain about it. But at the end of the day, it's out of our control. And just focus on things you have within your control. Focus on the good in your life. Your career, your family, your hobbies, your music, whatever it happens to be. Don't let the stupidity of our politics drag you down, drag your life down. It's bad enough that they're going to cause a recession or some kind of crisis. You don't have to compound that by emotionally constraining yourself. All right, guys, we need 4 more $20 questions to get to our goal. Let's try to hit the goal today and make it. Michael, you notice how Millei is so energetic and excited about life? Do optimistic people tend to gravitate towards free markets? I don't know. Mamdani looks very excited and energetic as well. So I'd be cautious to make that claim, right? Mamdani, the socialist candidate for mayor in New York, I think one of the reasons he won is because he's so energized and appears optimistic and positive and seems full of life. Yeah, I'm sure it's different in when he's not in front of a camera. But when I met Millei, he was very shy and quiet and not the kind of vivacious, full of energy type that you see on camera. So they're very different in person. And I don't see a correlation between that and being pro-free markets. Daniel, what if Trump had Putin arrested during the meeting? I mean, that would be cool, but yeah. Not going to happen, ever. James, if you didn't have to travel to make a living, would you be a homebody, just relaxing on the beach and doing podcasts? I mean, I do like to be home, and I do like to relax, but I'm not big on sand, but I like the beach. I like relaxing, but I like traveling. I would probably travel. In addition, and look, I would still go do like the Peterson Academy. I would still teach at the Alignment Institute. I would still hustle to do other kinds of work because I like it, I enjoy it, and I need the income. Oh, he says, I remember about a year ago you said something to the effect, I need to rethink what I'm doing with this show because it's too negative and too much news. That's not what I want. Have you thought more in that vein since? I mean, I'm constantly torn about this because most of my listeners seem to really value the fact that I'm doing the news. I get so many positive comments about the news. I get so many people telling me this is how they get the news. I really have customers out there that really value this. The reality is that I have a steady stream of people who are watching this. I mean, it's pretty constant and steady, and the super chat is there in terms of support. There's income coming in. I do want to do other types of shows as well, because I think this is overly negative and too repetitive in many respects. I just, and I need to do some stuff that's maybe a little bit more challenging, deeper topics, and maybe do a few more Yaron Rules for Life topics. I'm thinking of doing one tomorrow. If I do a show tomorrow, I'll probably do a Rules for Life show tomorrow. Somebody also suggested, was it Andrew? Somebody suggested that I do shows on Ayn Rand essays, where we analyze an Ayn Rand essay. And I'm thinking of doing that as kind of a once-a-month members show, which will also be fun for me to read those essays and to really think about them and think about how to present them. So that is, that's my thinking. So I think the news is here to stay, but I want to do some additional shows. So whether I keep doing it 5 days a week, or I do it 4 days a week and introduce more deep, deep topics and other stuff. We'll see. But I keep thinking about it. But it has a lot of support and has a lot of viewers. It's hard to just abandon. And I don't want to just abandon it, because I will miss it. I mean, to me, it's, on the one hand, it's negative and all that. On the other hand, it's an outlet for me, right? I read the news, and I want to say stuff about it, and I need an outlet to be able to do that. Andrew, how do you think characters like RFK and Tulsi align with the modern right? I mean, I think they align with them. The modern right is not anything in particular in terms of positions. The modern right is, hates expertise, hates knowledge, loves conspiracy theories, and is statist. And in that sense, I think RFK and Tulsi align completely with the modern right. So I'm sure there are differences. RFK might be pro-abortion, and they're not. There might be a few differences here and there, but they're minor as compared to the essentials, which is emotionalism, anti-science, anti-reality, anti-fact, and a respect for conspiracy theories. I think that completely aligns RFK and Tulsi, both those nuts, with it. Hopper, if the United States actually collapsed into dictatorship, is there anywhere to escape to? Won't there be a domino effect of every other country following suit? No, I don't think there has to be. I mean, there doesn't have to be. There are better people out there. Argentina doesn't have to follow the United States. Now, there will be an global economic crisis. There will be challenges and problems. But ideas are not rooted to geography. And there's absolutely no reason that other regions in the world can't have better ideas. And ultimately, maybe I'm naive and overly hopeful, I'm hopeful for a country like China to shrug off its communist ideology, or the Communist Party, more correctly, and embrace something more rational and more free. So I don't know what China's going to be like in 10 years, never mind 50. So no, I don't think that at all. I'm not as US-centric as I think a lot of people are. Liam says, why are so many Westerners moving to and retiring in Vietnam? Have you been? I haven't been to Vietnam. I'd like to go. I think it's because Vietnam is a place that's cheap to live. It's super dynamic. It's growing very fast. The economy is. There are lots of opportunities to make money. But it's a good place to retire, because you can live on like a Social Security check or retirement fund that you have pretty well. And again, the people are friendly. The food is fantastic. In Vietnam, you could probably live in a pretty high standard of living with pretty low income. And again, there's a dynamism to the place. Clark, is Craig Biddle a giant charlatan? His debate with Alex O'Connor he just released was hard to watch. I don't think Craig's a charlatan. He's just a man of, limited abilities, and he thinks of himself a lot more than what his abilities are. I mean, he's good at some things, but he presents himself and thinks of himself as much better than he is. Again, I haven't seen the debates. I don't know how bad it is or whatever. And again, I'm asking if somebody can tell me, is this a new debate? Wasn't this the debate that was done a year or two ago? And why are you asking about it now? Hasn't it been released a long time ago? Robert, will you have a show with Amy Peikoff again? Probably not anytime soon. I mean, I have too many disagreements right now with Amy to have a show with her. I'd have to hash out those disagreements in private first, and that hasn't happened yet. Esoteric dichotomy. How does one develop a skill set to provide more value to others? I have a BA, master's, pending accounting, full-time employed, but want more money and to create real value in the world and my own life. Well, I don't think the way to think about it is as a skill set to provide more value to others. I think you have to, think of it as, what is the skill set I need to develop in order to provide value? What do I want to do? What do I want to achieve? You say you want to create real value in the world. What does that look like for you? What does that mean to you? What is real value? So you have to really, I think what you really need to do at this point, I would take the course that I mentioned that the Ayn Rand Institute is offering on work and philosophy. I can't remember what it was titled. Work something something. I would take that course because I think they'll talk about these kind of issues, and I think that it's exactly what you need is to do the kind of introspection to figure out what you mean by all these terms. It's called Objectivism, Work and Business. I would definitely take that course. I think you'll learn a lot there, and I think that'll help you do the kind of work that you have to do before you go out and get a degree or anything like that to figure out what the right path is for you. Impoki. How do you shed emotional guilt that clashes with reason? Example, accepting that civilian destruction can be a just wartime strategy for victory, but still highly feeling disturbed by it. I mean, you just have to really go through the action, the thinking of understanding it, integrating it, constantly integrating it with the rest of your value, understanding that the emotion, the feeling disturbed by it is probably coming from remnants of altruism, introspecting about that, really doing the work. And here's where the real work needs to be done. Not so much on theory of war, but doing the work around altruism. What does it mean to be selfish? What does it mean to be self-interested? And doing the philosophical and psychological work to really concretize and make real to yourself what it means to be self-interested. And I think if you do that, then the emotion will go away after a while. I think Jean Maroney, she's been on the show a number of times, has seminars that work on these kind of things. I think you also ask Gina Golan, but I think Jean, Harry Van Swinger's wife, who runs a company that puts on seminars around exactly these kind of issues. How to align your emotions with your philosophical ideas. And Pokey, how do you tell if a luxury is pride or second-handed vanity when motives overlap? For example, buying a $10,000 suit, both because you love the craftsmanship and because you know it impresses clients. Well, I mean, there's a couple of things. One is impressive clients second-handed, or is it part of the job? Is it part of your work to exude success and to exude a sense of wealth? I can imagine there's some jobs in which wearing a $10,000 suit is just the price you pay. It's kind of investment in the job. and the respect you get from the clients is something that's important for the job. But you have to work that out. There is no formula, right? And I'm the wrong person to ask about a $10,000 suit because, God, I would never spend $10,000 on a suit. But that's just me, right? You have to make sure that your values are first-handed, that you really do appreciate the craftsmanship, that you like the way you look in the suit, that you value the look and the way it makes you feel above the $10,000, and that it's really crucial for your profession. And you have to think all that through. You have to really introspect about what really is motivating me to buy this suit. And you want to make sure it's not second-handed. You want to make sure you really do value it. It really is a value to you. You want to make sure you don't have a better use for $10,000 than buying the suit that is even more of a value to you. But that's work you have to do in breaking it down. I hope that's helpful. Peter, by the way, $22 to get to our goal. Somebody has to come through with a $22 question or a $22 sticker so we can make the goal today. That would be really, really, really nice. It would be nice to beat the goal, but it would be nice to make the goal. So, and there's not a lot of time because we've got almost no questions. Do you agree with Zubrin that humans on Mars would inspire new generations of engineers, scientists, and be the catalyst for a new age of discovery? I don't think that's enough. I think they're going to have the right ideas when they get there. But yeah, there's a sense in which that's absolutely true. That is, the spirit that gets us there is a spirit that's going to keep people searching and keep people going. It is inspiring. But I do think it's going to be important to have good ideas. But yes, I think that people are inspired by great achievement. People are inspired by science fiction and achieving science fiction-like goals. So yeah, I basically agree with Zubin. Although I'd like to see him emphasize good ideas more. Andrew, thank you, Andrew. Andrew did 20, so now I just need 2. I think some people feel emotional clashes because they fall prey to thinking that because rational is dangerous, because most people aren't rational. And so that puts you in the minority. I don't know if that's true. I think people have clashes because they have clashes. Because we all grow up in an altruistic world, in an irrational world. We've all picked up conclusions and come to conclusions in the world out there, because this is the kind of world we live in, that now conflict with our rational evaluations, and that creates emotional conflicts. And I just think you need to do the introspective work to get rid of that. We're not all kind of first-handers from a very young age, like Ayn Rand. Many of us pick up stuff from the culture, and we have to question all that, and it takes time and work and effort to do that. And until you do all that work, you're not going to get rid of the clashes. All right. Jennifer, did you ever see videos of Montserrat Caballé sing opera with Freddie Mercury? No, I didn't see her sing it with Freddie Mercury. I've seen Montserrat Caballé, and I've got many. I used to have lots of recordings of her. And she had a beautiful voice, but I never saw her sing it with Freddie Mercury. No. I'll have to look for that. All right. Lynn Cordair says, YBS is my news source. Yeah, lots of people say that. Thank you. And Lynn says, let's do a show on art. Absolutely. Problem is, shows on art get very little viewers, very few viewers, and not a lot of super chats. But I enjoy doing shows on art. All right, guys. Dave just did the $2 to get us to our goal. So thank you guys. Thank you to all the super chatters. Thank you to all the stickers. Thanks everybody. I don't know if I'll do a show tomorrow. I might. If I do, it'll be in my night, so your afternoon. I'll try to let you know in advance, but I'll decide later tomorrow. Same goes for Sunday. I'll decide on Sunday whether to do a show or not. Definitely will be a show on Monday night. Just to give you up to speed, the Trump-Putin meeting lasted nearly 3 hours. That's the first meeting. Let's see, meeting with leaders and 2 key aides on both sides. There was supposed to be an expanded lunch session, but Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin appear to be moving ahead with their press conference. It's unclear whether the lunch has been scrapped or if talks will continue after hearing from the presidents. So we'll find out in a little while. I'll comment on the press conference in a future show. Andrew came in with another $5. So you don't think some people are afraid that being rational equals being lonely in the irrational world? I think some people are willing to compromise their ideas in order not to be lonely, but I don't think that is the source of these conflicting emotions. So yes, there's certainly people who give up on rationality because they fear it's going to lead to loneliness. They want to fit in. But it's not the source of the conflicting emotions. The conflicting emotions, again, bad conclusions one came to earlier in life, I think. John, thank you for the sticker. And Pokey, thank you for the sticker. Really appreciate you guys, and we exceeded the goal today. So thank you, and I will see you all, if not tomorrow and Sunday, Monday then for sure.